One.
Good evening. My name is Joel Coate, and I welcome you to our elections forum this evening. You will hear from challengers and/or incumbents who are seeking to represent you or to serve you. And we think that you will find this to be both an interesting and informative discussion this evening. This forum is being organized by our partner, the Austell Community Task Force, as well as the Mableton Improvement Coalition, for which I serve as a board member. And I want to thank Austell Community Task Force and their members for their friendship and their community mindedness as we work together in putting on these important civic events. In particular, I also want to thank the candidates who have agreed to serve and be part of this evening's forum. The posts that are represented tonight will be that of Cobb Solicitor, House District 39, School Board Post 2, and House Seat 38. I'd also like to thank all of you in the listening audience, whether on Zoom, Facebook, or other platform, for caring enough to be part of this discussion this evening. All the candidates who qualify to run these positions, regardless of their political affiliation or party affiliation, were invited to appear on the forum tonight. Those invitations were sent out in a number of ways. Some candidates had some scheduling conflicts, but we mentioned this in case you may be wondering why a candidate that is running you don't see on the screen this evening. As you know, when you register the forum, you had the opportunity to submit a question for the panelists that are here in front of you. We received many fine questions, and we don't want anyone to think in the viewing audience that if you don't get your question answered, there's anything wrong. It simply means that we may have run out of time in which to pose those questions. And there are many candidates who are going to be on this evening. We want to make sure that we're able to reach all of them and to get a sufficient amount of questions posed to each one. And due to the limited amount of time, we may not be able to reach all the questions that were submitted to us. We just want to put that disclaimer out there. Now, MIC is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization with 11 board members, and it's existed since 2001. Today, we're involved in a whole host of subject areas, including things like zoning, community gardening, parks, the Mableton Farmers Market, neighborhood watches, economic development, Adopt-A-Mile, and many, many other areas of interest in our community. Now, I cannot stress enough that what MIC accomplishes is entirely due to the work of volunteers. There are no paid staff, no headquarters, no interns. And we would also like to thank at this time our corporate sponsors for their support of our organization. They're an invaluable part of our group in their contributions and their support, and much of what we do depends heavily upon them, and we want to recognize and thank them for their service. And as I've always stated, we definitely would love to have members on here to renew if you've already been a member, and if you've not, please join us. We would love to have you. I don't think I've ever met a volunteer group that's ever suffered from too many volunteers. We also want to remind you at this time that we are in election season, which is also why, of course, we're having this forum. The deadline to register to vote, if you've not already registered, is October 11th, and early voting will begin on October 17th. Neither of these dates are very far off at all, which is partly why we chose this evening to have this forum in the time that we did. Now, without further ado, I'd like to turn to my partners and peers at Austell Community Task Force. Dante?
Yes, thank you, Joel. So once again, thank everyone, the candidates, as well as you guys out in the listening audience. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. You could have been doing a number of different things this evening, but you chose to spend time with us, and we appreciate you for doing that. So we want to make sure that we give you as much information as possible. So one of the things that I want to make sure that I go over is us here at ACT, Austell Community Task Force. We are a resident-led, community-based umbrella organization here in Cobb County that was founded in 2001. And our purpose is simply to systematically identify, connect, develop, and leverage resources within the community for a sustainable future. And just like Joel mentioned, the same thing with Mableton Improvement Coalition. ACT membership is comprised of residents and businesses, large and small, faith groups, and safety officials. So we're always opening the doors to anyone that wants to volunteer, anyone that wants to be a little bit more engaged in the community and help to make sure that we push the community to its best possible results. There's a number of different areas where we focus on or that we're engaged with and involved with, everything from community development to economic development to education, justice for all, partnerships, in any and everything under the sun. We do that. And again, we work with our partner organizations such as Mableton Improvement Coalition. So again, we thank you. We appreciate everyone being out, especially the candidates who put themselves in the position to be scrutinized by the public because they want to gain and earn your vote. So with that being said, I will turn it back over to you, Joel, and we can go ahead and get started.
All right, wonderful. As we stated earlier, we have several different races that will be represented this evening in different offices people are seeking. Representative David Wilkerson, this time is running on the ballot. He's running for re-election. He will be given 2 minutes to talk about the reason he's running for re-election, why he wishes to have your vote. And then at that time, then we will proceed after that to the other offices where there is a competitive election this particular fall. So President Wilkerson, would you like to take your 2 minutes and speak to the voters about why they should be voting for you?
Yes, thank you for doing the forum. I want to thank the Austell Community Task Force as well as the Mableton Improvement Coalition for doing this forum tonight. My name is David Wilkerson. I serve as state representative. After redistricting, I used to have the Floyd Road area. Now I pretty much only have a piece of the Mableton 01 precinct near South Cobb High School. But for the longest time, I represented, since I've been in office, a majority of the East-West Connect area, heading down into the Smyrna area, which includes Barnes Mill, et cetera. And then coming down, my children attended Floyd Middle School, as well as Russell Elementary prior to us moving out to Powder Springs back in 2015. But I just want to, like I said, thank you for being here. I like to be part of the community. You'll see me around. You'll see me engaged. I serve as whip in the House Democratic Caucus, which is the second ranking position. So with that, I get a lot of chance to be a part of legislation. But mine has always been about community and being involved in the community. And that's why I respect the work that both of you guys do at MIC as well as the Austell Community Task Force. I do want to highlight one issue that's going to be on the ballot, and that is cityhood. There seems to be, I just want to make sure that people are clear. I have always opposed any cities being created. I did believe that if one city was going to have the opportunity to be discussed, the others should be as well. But I just want to make sure that I'm very clear as I can be that I do not support the city of Mableton. And I actually oppose it primarily because I believe the county's stronger together. I believe that the chairwoman, Lisa Cupid, and County Commissioner Monique Sheffield, and Jericho Richardson, Kelly Gamble, and Joanne Burrell are all working toward having some positive changes. And we're seeing that now. So I just want to make sure unequivocally, yes, I'm aware of the process, but once it expanded past the true Mableton area, I decided that it was actually time to say, and I've been pushing back since the beginning that we should not include that area. But I just want to say thank you. I appreciate everything you're doing, and go to my website, Wilkerson for Georgia, if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, President Wilkerson. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for that. All right, Dante, you want to take on the next part of the program?
Absolutely. So thank you, Representative Wilkerson. So from there, we will actually move to the Solicitor General contest, and that race is being ran by Ms. Metzger and Brubaker. So do we have both of you in?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I want to make sure first and foremost that we have you guys in here. We don't have any technical difficulties. So with that, so what we will do is we'll give you both the opportunity to introduce yourselves to the voters. Some may be familiar with you, some may not be. So we want to start out with a minute for both of you to introduce yourself to the voters. Introduce yourself and let them know who you are, what seat or what position you're running for, and then we'll move into Q&A. So we'll start with Ms. Metzger. You go first, and then we'll go to Ms. Brubaker.
Okay. Thank you for having me here today, and it is my distinct pleasure. My name is Makia Metzger, and I am running for the office of Cobb County Solicitor General. I have been a Cobb County resident I've lived in Powder Springs for 25 years with my family. I'm a practicing attorney. I have been a practicing attorney for 17 years and a career prosecutor for 15. I have worked in Fulton County and currently work in Paulding County. I've worked as a solicitor. And a senior solicitor. I've also worked as a senior ADA and also an ADA in Paulding and a solicitor in Paulding currently. I've basically tried over 200 cases in my career, bench and jury combined. I have tried every kind of case, from your felonies to your misdemeanors to juvenile cases. So I've seen it all, and specifically in terms of victim advocacy, I have worked with victims, victim advocates, and my hope today is to obviously reach voters, answer questions that you may have, and just earn your vote. I think it's really important that in this race we talk to the voters and see what you are looking for in us. But I hope that you can find that if I win the seat, it will be the first time you have a woman of color to take this seat, a Black woman who can lead the seat, have representation in an office where we've never had any in Cobb County. So this will be making history in some ways. And also, my hope is that we can bring integrity back to the Office of the Solicitor General and educate people about what we do. The Solicitor General's office handles misdemeanor cases, and I have handled over 19,000 misdemeanor cases in my career. I've done it all. And I thank you for your time, and I hope we can have a very fruitful conversation tonight.
Thank you. And Ms. Brubaker, we will turn it over to you for your introduction.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Courtney Brubaker. I appreciate everyone being here tonight, and I appreciate the Mableton Improvement Coalition, as well as the Austell Community Task Force for organizing this forum for us this evening. I said, my name is Courtney Brubaker, and I am running for Cobb County Solicitor General. I'm running for this office because the Solicitor General's office is the forefront of the criminal justice system in Cobb County. I am running to ensure that Cobb is a safe and prosperous community. I'm running to put safety at the forefront of our community. I'm running because I have experience and I have fairness in my mind at all times. I have safety at the forefront of my mind always, because my husband and I have our 3 small children. We live in Cobb County. I am a Cobb County native. We have chosen to remain here and raise our children here. I want to serve the community. I have a vested interest in this community and all of Cobb County. I don't care if you live in North Cobb, East Cobb, South Cobb, or West Cobb. You deserve to feel safe in your home, when you're out shopping, when you are driving your car down the street. And I will ensure that you are safe in Cobb County by holding criminals that commit misdemeanor crimes accountable. And I will ensure that they are treated with fairness and integrity and respect each and every time that they enter into Cobb County State Court. I have experience. I have over 10 years of experience in the office in which I am running for. I was on the leadership team in the office. So I have the necessary relationships and leadership capabilities to ensure that the office, when I take over as the next Cobb County Solicitor General, is able to run efficiently while making positive changes. And I have had experience as a prosecutor. I'm currently a defense attorney, and I also serve as an associate judge. I have every aspect of the criminal justice system under my belt. So I am unmatched in experience and uniquely capable to run this office efficiently while ensuring that we have a safe community and that each and every person that comes into Cobb County State Court is treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you. So now you've heard from both candidates. We will go into the Q&A portion. This is the opportunity for you, the voters, to get to know where the candidates stand on the issues. And this is the opportunity that the candidates have to speak directly to the issues that matter to you, the viewing public. Again, we will be asking questions that were submitted by you, the viewing public. No candidates have received any questions in advance, so this is strictly from you to them. So I'll kick it over to Joel, and we'll start off with the questions. You can take the first, and then we'll go back and forth.
Great, thanks, Dante. All right, so we're gonna alternate who we start with each time in these different races, just to be fair. But here's the first question, and Ms. Brubaker, I guess we'll start with you.
Okay.
Tell us one signature program of your predecessor that you intend to continue. At the same time, also share with us and our audience one program that you intend to discontinue that your predecessor had because it was not as effective as perhaps it could have been.
All right. So thank you for that question. I appreciate that. As I stated, I have had experience in the Cobb County Solicitor's Office, and I think a program that is very useful and should continue and be expanded is the diversion program. I believe that diversion, when used in the appropriate situations for the appropriate individuals, is very beneficial. It ensures that people are held accountable because they are doing different requirements, whether it be addressing an alcohol and drug dependency issue, whether it be your theft behavior, whatever the root issue is. If we want to address as a society root issues of alcohol and drug dependency or mental health issues that arise due to service in the military with our veterans, we need law and order and to hold individuals accountable so that we can get to any root issues. So I think the diversion program is a very beneficial program that is currently in existence in the solicitor's office. And I intend to continue with diversion, but use it in appropriate manner. Diversion is not something to do to dismiss every single case. It is only in certain appropriate circumstances for first-time offenders to be able to show that they are willing to make changes and be held accountable. Thank you.
Okay. If I might interject one quick question, Ms. Brubaker, if you might explain what is the diversion program, just like in 10 seconds, I think, in case our audience doesn't know.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I apologize. Things that you speak about on a daily basis, sometimes you forget that your audience may not know. So I appreciate that, Mr. Cope. Diversion is a special program that, depending on the offense that the individual is charged with, it is a set time where individuals will do some permutation of evaluation, community service, potentially drug and alcohol evaluations, other educational programming. If they are successful in completing those requirements that are placed upon them in the time frame in which they are to complete them, the case will be dismissed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So Ms. Metzger, obviously we'll give you a few more seconds here so you can answer your question. The same one that you heard asked earlier. Please tell one signature program that your predecessor had that you would like to continue if elected. And at the same time, also share with us a program that your predecessor had that you think needs to be discontinued because it was not perhaps as effective as it could have been.
Okay, well, I thank you for the question. I think this is a very important question, actually. Now, I think that my predecessor started, he started expanding the victim advocacy through a resource center for victims. And that is something I would like to build on when I am elected in November. My hope would be to have wraparound services for victims so that victims are not just, when you think of victimhood, when you think of a victim coming in a courtroom, a lot of times we have what we call recanting victims, when by the time the case comes to court, they are scared, they're frightened, they have financial dependencies on probably the person who is their abuser, and they have a change of heart because the criminal justice system is very intimidating to the normal person out there. So I would like to have services, wraparound services, so that victims can have the ability to basically build back up their lives and be put in a situation of strength so that they can proceed with the prosecution if that's what they want to do, or they can leave an abusive relationship if that's what they want. What I would like to discontinue is the non-transparency. There is certainly a webpage that has information. And, last May, I brought this up. I said, we don't have a lot of transparency in this court. I want people who are charged with crimes to know what's happening. I want voters to know just how many cases are going into accountability courts, how many people are coming out of accountability courts successfully, what is going on in the Solicitor General's office. Voters have a right to know. You should not have to file an open records request to see what's happening in your county for your tax dollars. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Next question.
All right, so this question, it'll be for both of you, but Ms. Metzger, you go first this time. So the question that's posed is, how do you plan to lower the recidivism rate here in Cobb County?
That's an excellent question. Thank you. I think that you have to look at, first of all, when we talk about recidivism, we're talking about causes of crime, right? We're talking about root causes, and those root causes have to do with mental health. That's the number one root cause. If you look at statistics, we have almost, the percentages are pretty high when it comes to mental health in terms of African-American populations. We are not addressing that accurately. We are not doing the therapeutical services that we need. So we need to address that. We need to ensure that people can actually be a competent to go to trial. Those things, those competencies need to be looked at. In terms of recidivism, we need to expand pretrial diversions. We need to ensure that we are not just having a breadth of substance abuse. And here's where I would like to define myself from Ms. Brubaker. You know, when you talk about substance abuse, alcohol abuse and drug abuse and all those other things, sometimes people do come a second time within a short period of time with the same problem. So to take that person and say, well, now you're just going to go to jail because you failed the first time, that is not how rehabilitation should be done. Rehabilitation should be done by looking at that individual, looking at their progress, talking to their professionals, and crafting the type of solution for that individual that they need. So sometimes you may have a person who's a second-time offender with the same problem that you need to approach differently. That's a little bit of a differentiation. So recidivism through root causes, expansive pretrial diversions, and opportunities to not get caught up with criminal records through also expungements for people who we can reward for doing well down the road.
Thank you, Ms. Metzger. That's time.
you.
We'll go over to you, Ms. Brubaker. Same question, and I'll repeat it if need be, just to make sure that you know exactly what the question is. How do you plan to lower the recidivism rate here in Cobb County?
Absolutely. Thank you for repeating that question.
Mhm.
Recidivism is a genuine and true issue. How it is best addressed is through law and order, as I stated before. In order to accomplish the goals of getting to the root cause of someone's criminal activity, they must first and foremost be held accountable. Without accountability, there is no recognition of root cause of any issue. If it is alcohol and drug abuse, that is the root issue. If we continue to dismiss individuals' cases that continue to exhibit the exact same behavior, all we are doing is brushing away the law and order, and we're no longer able to address the root issue. By holding individuals accountable, we will address the issues that are presented and what is presenting as the reason behind the behavior. If we continue to go with a lawless approach and not hold anyone accountable, we will continue to have recidivist behavior, and people will continue with their same behavior because they know that they will get away with it time and time again and never actually address the issue at hand. Therefore, in order to lower the recidivism rate, we must make individuals aware that commit crime in Cobb County, and specifically misdemeanor crime, that they will be held accountable and that they will answer to the charges that they have against them, and that holding individuals accountable is how to lower recidivism rates. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel?
Okay, next question. This was to you, Ms. Brubaker. How do you plan to address the disparate justice that Black people and other people of color face in the criminal justice system?
Thank you for that question. I believe that regardless of who you are in the criminal justice system, you should be treated fairly. That is the number one issue that I hold. Safety of Cobb County, that you're held in a fair and that you are treated fairly. As a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, I am known to be tough but fair. That is the way that any office and any prosecutor should be viewed, to be holding each and every individual, regardless of who they are, to look at their case on an individual basis and to have blinders on when looking at an individual. You are not to prosecute an individual based on their race, religion, creed, national origin, or their political affiliation. It does not matter to me who you are or what you have done. You will be treated fairly by me and my office as the next Cobb County Solicitor General. I have safety of each and every person, regardless of where you live in the county, at the forefront of my mind. You deserve to be safe in your community, regardless of what community that is within Cobb County. And you will be treated fairly, not only by me as the elected official, but every individual. And accountability is a two-way street for me. It's not just the solicitor's office holding offenders accountable. It is the community also holding the solicitor's office accountable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Metzger, the same question. How do you plan to address the disparate justice that Black people and other people of color face in the criminal justice system?
That's really an excellent question, because I think in the American jurisprudence, we have basically evolved and reformed, but we have not done so sufficiently. When you look at the history of criminal justice in America, it is derived from a long tradition of a law used to preserve property and enslaved chattel, which were Black and brown bodies. So in looking at where we're coming from, first of all, prosecutors need to be trained about implicit bias. That is not done enough. I go to all these prosecution council meetings. It's majority white still. We need to hire Black prosecutors. We need to train about implicit bias. We still have problems where you have a Black person who is 4 times more likely to be arrested for possession of marijuana charge than someone else who is not Black using at the same rate. So we have to be very aware and cognizant of what's happening on our streets, who's getting arrested more than others. And we need to ensure that when we have poor individuals, Black and brown people, people who can't even afford attorneys, that we are not just looking at them and saying we're going to be fair while we're throwing, everything at them that we've got and say that's called accountability. We have to look at them and make a determination of whether or not, first of all, their arrest was actually based on sufficient probable cause, whether they were being improperly treated during that arrest, and ensure that if they have problems, we are also dealing with that on the back end. Not everyone can afford an attorney, and we all know that representation matters. In fact, when we talk about disparate justice, I do want to bring something else to the fore. Leadership matters. We have a Solicitor General in that office who was charged and basically for one of the crimes that he prosecutes.
Ms. Metzger, I have to stop you.
Okay.
That's time. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So ready to go to the next question?
Mhm.
So we'll start with you, Ms. Metzger. I think we started with Ms. Brubaker this round, so we'll circle back.
Thank you.
So next question. How do you plan to engage with community leaders to create a safer Cobb?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that Cobb County, being as beautiful and safe as it is, we can definitely do better. Okay, we can have education for our youth in schools. We can have stakeholders at the table, businesses where we ensure that we have community prosecution, just like we talk about having prosecutors go out there in the public and talk to business owners so that our citizens can understand that we're engaged. We can talk about issues dealing with ordinances, nuisances, and ensuring that when we have cases that come to us, we can deal with them in a way that is holistic. We also want to have, obviously, early intervention, which is mental health, substance abuse, dealing with socioeconomic problems so that we can have a reintegration for those charged with crimes back into our communities as healthy, law-abiding citizens. Because believe it or not, if you have a theft on your criminal record, you can't go back and work because someone might not want to hire you. I have recommitted to the public defender that I will be a part of the expungement program and they can still get that grant so that we can expunge cases for individuals who have been law-abiding, who can go back and reintegrate and have a chance at their lives. Because we all know that economic development and progress go hand in hand with safe communities and do reduce recidivism. Thank you.
Sorry, I was talking on mute. Thank you, Ms. Metzger. Same question to you, Ms. Brubaker, and I'll repeat it. How do you plan to engage with community leaders to create a safer Cobb?
Thank you for repeating that question. Engaging with community leaders is something that I have always done and I will continue to do as the next Cobb County Solicitor General. As I previously stated, I have defense experience. So I have real world every single day, today, yesterday, tomorrow, defense experience. Having that engagement with people that are charged with crimes, I've been able to garner an actual real understanding of the issues that present to individuals in our community on a daily basis. And being able to engage with not only individuals that I'm representing, but also with community leaders and with schools. I deal with juvenile cases every single day. I am in juvenile court. I am engaging with the schools. And I think that education is so important. I engaging with schools and community leaders since my beginning as a legal advocate in the Cobb County judicial system. I will continue to do that because when we build a strong relationship and I continue the relationships that I already have, we build a stronger and more secure Cobb County. And it is in vital importance for the community to know that we are supporting law enforcement and that law enforcement supports us. And it is vital that we continue and maintain a positive relationship with all members of the community.
Thank you. Back to you, Joel. I think we're bumping up against time for this race. We got about 2 or 3 more minutes.
Yes, I think this will be the last question here. And I guess we'll start with you, Ms. Brubaker. This question is, do you have the discretion as the solicitor to decide that you will not prosecute certain types of crimes, even though they are on the books in Georgia and that are within jurisdiction of your office? And if so, tell us which crimes you might elect not to prosecute.
Thank you so much for that question, Hope. I think that is a distinguishing factor between me and my opponent, is that I understand that the Cobb County Solicitor General, the process and procedure that the solicitor and any prosecutor has is to enforce the laws. Does prosecutorial discretion exist? Absolutely. But to make broad brush strokes that you will not prosecute crimes is a slippery and very dangerous slope to go on to. If an individual wants to change laws that are on the books in Georgia, the best place to do that is in the legislature, not in the Cobb County Solicitor's Office or any other prosecution office for that matter. You have discretion on how cases are prosecuted, but to make broad brushstrokes and single out sections of crime that is not going to prosecute, that you will not prosecute, is a dangerous, dangerous path to go down. And it greatly impairs the safety, confidence in the community. With doing so, you have become a legislator. You are legislating from a position that is not a legislative position. So to make broad statements that rules and laws that are on the books, on the Georgia Code, is a dangerous avenue to take and not one that the Solicitor General is charged with doing. The Solicitor General is charged to enforce and prosecute crimes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Metzger, the same question. Do you have the discretion as a solicitor to decide that you will not prosecute certain types of crimes that are on the books in Georgia and that are within the jurisdiction of your office? And if so, can you please tell us what those crimes might be that you would choose not to prosecute?
Thank you for that question. I think that is a very timely question with a lot of the issues we are facing today. Certainly, there are lots of crimes in the books that we don't prosecute because they just would not be cost effective. they would not be practical, and they don't make sense. I believe adultery is still in the books, and we don't prosecute adultery because that's a private matter. There are certain things that, yes, within my prosecutorial discretion would not be in my purview. It would not be in the best interest for the taxpayers and voters of Cobb County to pay for. We have something called evidence-based prosecution. Therefore, cases that lack sufficient evidence, even if they are in our code section, if we are unable to procure the evidence to properly prosecute those cases, we will not prosecute those cases. And I'm not going to waste resources and taxpayer dollars just to show that I am the prosecutor of law and order. I think that is a dangerous way to lead. I think having integrity means that you speak up and you stand up for what is right. And I guess one of the things that I would bring to the fore before we end this, as a leader of that office, I would hold my prosecutors to a very high standard in terms of them following the laws that they prosecute. That one of the first things I was told as prosecutors, you don't break the law. So, we do have a solicitor general there who none of the leaders told him to resign after he broke the law and was convicted for breaking the law, which I think speaks to the type of leadership that we would either be continuing in that office, or we can ask for a new kind of leadership that does things based on evidence-based prosecution and leads with integrity. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Metzger. Thank you very much, Ms. Brubaker, both of you for your standing up. Again, for the audience, they are running for the Cobb solicitor position. We thank you both. We will now proceed to move on to the next position is on the ballot, and I'll turn over to my colleague.
All righty. So the next position or the next race is State Rep 39. And that is actually, oops, sorry, missed the wrong thing. Okay, so that's actually that race it has Terry Cummings and Olivia Angel. I think you guys are still in. Both of your mics are muted, so if you're talking, we can't hear you. Just want to make sure we have sound.
Yes.
Okay, can hear you, Miss Angel, Miss Cummings?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, okay, we can see and hear you both. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to follow the same format. You get a minute to introduce yourselves to the voters and the voting public, and then after both of you introduce yourselves, then we'll go into Q&A. We'll start with you, Miss Angel, and then Miss Cummings, you follow up next.
Hi, my name's Olivia Angel. I'm from Philippines. I was born in Cebu Island and legally immigrated here in Georgia 17 years ago. And I have one daughter. She just got married recently, and I'm looking forward to be a grandma. I have a degree in business, major in management, bachelor's in business administration, major in management, and I have a certificate from University of Georgia. And the reason why I run is that I need to represent the people of House District 39, and so help me God.
Okay, thank you, Miss Angel. And we'll turn it over to you, Miss Cummings, for your introduction.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having this forum this evening for us. My name is Terry Cummings, and I am running for Georgia House of Representatives for District 39. I've been in the community for quite some number of years, and in Georgia since 1996. I'm running because I want to bring my 25-year experience as an attorney and a law enforcement officer to the betterment of my community. I love living here, and I see that we are heading in the right direction in a lot of different areas. But I believe that there's always room for improvement, economy-wise, growth-wise, and just how we govern ourselves in the future. We have a lot of opportunity facing us, but we also have some obstacles, especially when it comes to Georgia as a whole. I believe that I have the background, I have the legal experience I've been out here talking to a number of constituents, not just in my area, but throughout Georgia, to find out what is important to Georgians and what's important to the people that live in District 39. One thing I can guarantee you is that in any decision that I make down at the state legislature, I'm always going to take the people of District 39 into consideration and what their wants and needs are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cummings. Joel, I'll turn it over to you for the first question.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. The first question, and I'll ask this to you, Ms. Angel. If elected, do you support making revisions to the voting bill that's commonly referred to as SB 202? And if so, what revisions, if any, would you propose to make?
Thank you for that question, and it's very timely. I would propose that those people that can vote in person should be able to given enough time to vote, and also for those people that needs to be sent out as an absentee ballot should be verified, the signature, and I want it should have they should show an ID that they are legally residing in the area, because first and foremost, those taxpayers, they're the ones who pay for all these expenses in our community. So I would like to see that they should provide identification, legal identification. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cummings, the same question. If elected, do you support making revisions to the voting bill commonly known as SB 202? And if so, what revisions, if any, would you propose to make to it?
I definitely would want to make revisions to SB 202, which placed undue restrictions on voters in Georgia. One of the restrictions that impacted me was when I was facing a runoff. They dramatically reduced the time that you have to campaign for a runoff. I still am trying to make sense out of not allowing people to serve other people water while they're on lines. And I believe that reducing the number of voter ballot boxes, those actual boxes, reducing that to a bare minimum, I think it only serves to impair the ability of all Georgians to vote. I believe that any Georgian that is qualified to vote should be allowed to qualify. I believe that we should have every means available to make sure that voters who are qualified have the opportunity to vote. The bill was based on rumors and innuendos and unfounded, no evidence of voter fraud in Georgia. And they are unfair and they serve to disenfranchise voters further. And so I would be definitely looking to make some major changes to the bill. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that comment. Next question.
All right. Thank you, Joel. Next question is, do you, I'm sorry. I think we started with Angel first, so we'll start with Ms. Cummings this time and circle around on this this round. So Ms. Cummings, the question is, do you plan to review the heartbeat bill that was signed by Governor Kemp?
Absolutely. I think that the heartbeat bill or any of these bills that have been passed after Roe versus Wade that restricts a woman's right to choose and have autonomy in her own body is just fundamentally and absolutely wrong. I believe that there should be a separation of church and state. There's a reason why we have separation of church and state, and Roe versus Wade erodes that. I also believe that any law that doesn't take into account whether or not a young girl, a minor, is raped, it becomes pregnant due to incest, or the life of the mother, if all those things are not taken into account, it's just very ironic to me that Georgia would pass a law to not regulate guns at all, but now you're going to regulate how women make decisions about their own body. I personally don't want any man other than my husband and my doctor and any doctor's office making health decisions for me. And I think that most women feel like that. I also feel very strongly that it's also ironic that you would have laws to force women to have babies under paying a penalty of crime. But then once these children get here, you don't take care of them. Thank you.
Okay, my turn.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. I was trying to get myself unmuted there. Thank you, Ms. Cummings, for the answer. Ms. Angel, I'll ask you the question again, just to make sure. Do you plan to review the heartbeat bill that was signed by Governor Kemp if elected?
Thank you for that very beautiful question. Absolutely, yes. I would see what's in there because for me, it's very important that people get health care. However, according to God, my God, Jesus Christ, that Jeremiah from the Bible, 1 chapter, verse 5, every heartbeat, before you even born, you are conceived and God already knows your future. So I would say, I will stand by my answer on our April forum that I am a pro-life and we should protect kids even from in the womb. And yes, I know people have choices. The law should never be involved in this in the first place. I have to review that bill, but my position is that I am a pro-life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Angel. And Joel, I'll turn it over to you for the next question.
All right, thank you. This question is to Ms. Angel. If elected, do you support the Medicaid expansion in Georgia? And if so, why or why not?
Thank you so much for that question, very timely. Listen, I would like to see what is in that Medicaid expansion. I know that the health of the people is very important in our country. And I believe that Medicaid expansion supposed to help Georgians. And I heard that it has string attached to it. I want to see what's in that bill. I want to see why they want to expand the Medicaid and what is it entails to. What is the string attached in there? So I want to see what is that bill. I want to read every single word in it. And I don't want the federal government to oversee our Medicaid or healthcare at all in our state. I want to see what is in that bill, review it. And I really think that the Obamacare actually solve all these issues. So that's my opinion. I want to see what entails in that Medicaid expansion. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Angel. Ms. Cummings, same question. If elected, would you support Medicaid expansion? Why or why not?
I do support Medicaid expansion because as it stands now, not enough Georgians are covered adequately by health care. In my opinion, quality health care is a right, not a privilege for those that have good insurance. I believe that expansion of Medicare would not only cover more elderly, more veterans, and especially people that are down in rural areas. And most recently, Medicare expansion would have helped keep open Atlanta Medical Center, which is a level 1 trauma center for emergencies, that is now in the process of closing. And I think that is it's not only very unfortunate, we are all going to feel the impact from it. And Medicare expansion would have helped cover a lot of those costs to that facility. AMC was only one of 5 trauma centers in the state of Georgia. And now we're going down to 1 in the metro Atlanta area, and that's Grady Hospital. So lack of Medicaid, which we already pay for through federal taxes, and the only reason why we don't have it is because of politics. And I wish that politics would get out of the way so that everyone, from those that have insurance, that those that don't have insurance, that those who have fallen through the cracks can get the appropriate coverage and get the quality health care that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cummings. I appreciate that. Dante?
All righty. And let's see. So we're going to go back with you, Ms. Cummings. So the next question is, what role do you intend to play in ensuring better pay and benefits for the teachers in our community?
Thank you for that question. Georgia is looking at a $6 billion surplus this year. That's billion with a B. And the quality basic education has never been fully funded since 1985 when it was implemented. So I would like to see, of course, some of this money go to bring teacher salaries up to where they need to be. We always keep talking about how important our kids are, how important the students are. Well, the teachers are the ones that are in the classrooms with our students for most of the time when they're growing up. Of course, they're tasked with teaching them. I think we need to pay them what they are worth. And with a $6 billion surplus, we can certainly afford it. We can also afford to send money to those schools that are operating below the poverty line to give them the additional assistance that they need so that they can produce students who are functioning at their best. Georgia is one of 8 states that does not provide additional state funding to schools that are in areas that are below the poverty levels. I think that we're blessed to have a $6 billion surplus. And I think that money can go a long way if spent correctly. And the first place it needs to go is to support our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cummings. And same question to you, Ms. Angel, and I'll repeat. What role do you intend to play in ensuring better pay and benefits for the teachers in our community?
Like Ms. Terry Cummings, I would support that benefits that will go straight to the teachers, and also the school should be taken care of, and making sure that our teachers are also have a benefits, and so it will not impede between their teaching and their family life. If they can have that surplus money to be in the benefit of them, and also for the school that are behind. So thank you so much for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Angel. And to you, Joel, for the next question.
All right, so this next question is to you, Ms. Angel. If elected, what particular bills do you intend to sponsor or co-sponsor and which would benefit the residents of Austell or Mableton specifically, as opposed to helping the state of Georgia overall?
Okay, I would. Oh, thank you for that question. Yeah, it's been a long time that we did not have a law, as I recall, regarding elderly and the property tax. So I believe that it was passed that they should, the retirees and the elderly does not need to pay property tax. So my position with this is to make sure that those people that does not have kids should not pay property tax as well. So and then I will also review that what our needs in the community. Like right now, there's a little bit of crime in our area, so I will take a look at what can we do to law enforcement, and also the train them, and also to benefit the community, in order that we have law and order all the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Angel. Same question to Ms. Cummings. If elected, what particular bills do you intend to sponsor or co-sponsor, and which would benefit the residents of Austell or Mableton specifically, as opposed to benefiting the state of Georgia as a whole?
The first law that I will be working on is a law to address rent stability and rent control. I've been working with the organization for some time now on this issue. And even though it does impact Georgia, it certainly impacts District 39 specifically. Georgia has a state law that prohibits local counties and municipalities from enacting any type of rent control whatsoever. So that's the first law that I would be sponsoring and working with several of my colleagues on, is to repeal that law. The other law that I would be working on to sponsor is the law to make the whole rental process a lot clearer. A lot of times residents will go from place to place to place, filling out application after application after application, and they have no idea what the actual qualifications are. And if you have limited means, that can be a problem, and you could spend a lot of money. So rent stability, rent attainability, and rent control would be number one. The repeal of the common no sense gun control laws that we currently have, because I believe that impacts our community specifically and our children. The next one would be the what I just spoke about a few moments ago, which is House Bill 10, which would bring more money to kids that are in lower income schools. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Cummings. Thank you, Ms. Angel. Dante?
All right, thank you, Joel. This will be the last question for this race. So we'll start with you, Ms. Cummings. So the question is, how will you work to help those formerly convicted of crimes to reintegrate into society and become productive members of society here in Cobb?
One of the things that I'm most proud of throughout my tenure with the U.S. Department of Justice and towards my retirement and the past couple of years, I've held returning citizen job fairs. And this is for people coming home from incarceration and people that have, let's say, problems with their record because they haven't been able to get them expunged. I've done several of them. And what I'm most proud of is back in 2019, 2020, I was able to partner with Joyette Holmes, who was then the district attorney for the county. And we had Cobb County's first returning citizen job fair. And what I do is I target employers who are specifically willing to give people with a record and people coming out of prison an opportunity. So they know if I go interview with this employer, they are going to be accepting or at least understanding of my background and give me a chance. And that's all most people need, is a chance to return to their communities and be productive members of society. But if you can't get a job, if you can't get a roof over your head, most people are going to turn to what they know best. And unfortunately, that's probably going to be a life of crime. And here we go with the revolving door, so to speak. So that's one thing that I've already been doing. I also will continue work. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cummings. And Ms. Angel, same question to you. Again, this will be the last question for this group. How will you work to help those formerly convicted of crimes to reintegrate into society and become productive members of said society here in Cobb?
Thank you for that question. Of course, we need to help them integrate with the community, take them back to their families, and make sure that they have enough training, train them with the skills that so that they can get a job, and also make sure to help them, make some resume and any support that we can help them, and also help them with the process of expunging their records so that they can totally integrate without shame in the community. And I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Angel, and I'll kick it over to you, Joel.
All right, well, thank you both, Ms. Angel and Ms. Cummings, for your participation in the forum this evening. The final position that we're going to be addressing this evening is that of School Board Post 2. As the members of the audience know, that the school board is organized by different posts, and this is the particular post that is in our areas of Austell and Mableton. And for that position, we have two candidates who've qualified. That is Becky Saylor and also Stephen George. At the present time, we only have Ms. Saylor on the line. Mr. George, I'm not sure why he is not on this evening, but we did extend the invitation. We even checked right before the program began to try to get in touch with him. So I apologize to the members of the audience. We did expect that he would be on this evening. However, we do have Ms. Saylor with us this evening, so she can present her best position as to why you should vote for her for the position of School Board Post 2. Ms. Saylor, you have a minute to introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, thank you, Joel, and thank you to the Mableton Improvement Coalition and to the Austell Community Task Force for hosting this. It's a great chance to be able to talk to you all, and I appreciate it. I am a teacher. I'm a mom. I've taught in Post 2 schools, and my children now attend Post 2 schools. And I really love public education. I believe in the transformative power of public education. And I'm really eager to be a part of solutions that will help our children learn better, to help support our teachers as they go about their jobs, and to help parents feel like they have a part of their children's education in ways that they can feel heard by the school board and feel like they have a stake in it as well. So I am excited about the chance to serve you. Something to note, if you are if you have a Mableton or Austell address, you might have changed your post. So be sure to check your post in your Georgia My Voter page and see what post you're in. You might be voting in this election and not expect it. You might have been in Post 3 and are now moved to Post 2.
And Ms. Saylor, if I could, before we go to the questions section, can you let the audience know what middle schools and high schools are in Post 2?
Yes, so the big change is that South Cobb High School will now be in Post 2. It has been in Post 3. And that Lindley Middle School and Lindley 6th Grade Academy will stay in Post 2. Floyd Middle and Griffin Middle will also be there. The other high school is Osborne and CETA. And then the schools that were Post 3 that are now Post 2 are Sanders and Mableton Elementary. And then in the more like the Smyrna area, we have schools that are staying in Post 2 like Norton Park, Nickajack, King Springs, LaBelle, Russell. I think I'm blanking on one, but those are all the ones that the district hasn't officially said yet. The district has only really said that it's Osborne and South Cobb High School, and the rest are just for me looking at a map and trying to figure out where everybody goes. So hopefully they'll have those lists ready soon on their website.
All right, thank you very much. Ante?
Sorry about that. So thank you again, Ms. Saylor. So we're going to continue with the same format. So we'll go straight to the Q&A. It'll feel like you're being peppered with a lot of questions, but since you are the one that's here, you'll have the opportunity to answer those questions. We won't penalize you for that. So let's start with one of the several questions that came through. First question is, how will you incorporate diversity and true complete American history into the public schools K through 12 curriculums here in Cobb County?
Okay, one thing I forgot to say is your school attendance zone does not necessarily match your post. So your kids might go to like a Post 6 school. You might still vote for Post 2. So just get that out of the way. That is a very important question. And it's something that I know a lot of teachers and parents feel stress about. You know, we have very clear standards of what we teach. Like, for example, I taught 5th grade to ESOL students, and we taught about the Civil War, and we taught about, Jim Crow laws during, American history during the 1950s, the Civil Rights era. And so those are topics that are really tricky to teach if you have with this new divisive concepts bill that we have. Earlier, our school board banned CRT without defining it. And now we've taken a few more. Now the school board has kind of expanded on their explanation of what they'll do for divisive concepts, which they were somewhat forced to do because of the state law that has happened. And I think that the district can really do a lot to support teachers in this. For example, we are required by the state to have a way for parents to complain about a book or to ask for it to be banned, taken out of the library. But the way this county has it set up now is that each parent at each school can complain about a book, as opposed to saying, we as a district think these books are valuable for teaching this truth about American history. They're kind of taking up teachers' time, teaching up this library committee's time of all of that. And I think it would be very powerful if we as a district could say, these are the standards. This is why we believe it's important to teach that and help our teachers as they're trying to get that across.
Thank you. Joe?
All right. Do you support private charter schools, which are funded by taxpayer dollars?
I am not personally a fan of charter schools. I had the experience of working within, post-2 schools, and we'd have students come in mid-year who were kicked out of like the state charter up the road because their parents couldn't fulfill the volunteer requirements. And I think if we could just put our resources into our public schools, that the kids would do great. With charter schools, there's different abilities they have to accept students and to not accept students. I think the beauty of charter schools is when they were first created, the intention was to try something in a smaller setting and then replicate it in our public schools. So if we see something that's great in a charter school that we want to use, let's put that in our public schools so that all students have access to it, instead of pulling students out of the public school and then hurting the resources that are remaining by having less available for those students in the public school. In charter schools, we often don't see things like transportation available. So that really, makes it hard for certain students to get there, for poor populations to get there. And it doesn't really seem to be an equitable way of having our children have access to education.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Next question from the viewing audience that came in is, what is your position on the CRT curriculum taught in schools?
So CRT is not taught in schools. It's been banned by Cobb County. But as a teacher myself, I am a big fan of kids having access to information and of having those conversations in classes where kids make connections. And I think I might have told this story during the primary on the same forum, but one time we were teaching about, I think it was World War II, and we were talking about how the Germans people had been scapegoating the Jewish people and how that was a way of, dehumanizing them, and then the atrocities that happened later kind of made it easier for that to happen. And some of the students in my class, this was around 2007, 2008, kind of when the recession was starting, were saying, oh, that's happening to us. These are Mexican-American students. And, that might be something today that I wouldn't be allowed to comment on with this divisive concept law. But I was very proud of those students for making a connection in real time to what they were reading in history and what they were experiencing now. I hated that they were experiencing it. It's a sad thing, but I was impressed with their ability to use that higher order thinking skill of analyzing. And I think that when we put these limits on what teachers can say and do surrounding these issues, we're really shortchanging the magic that happens in a classroom where kids are able to make those connections and to be able to reach a deeper understanding of history as they see how it relates to them today.
Thank you. Joel?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dante. Some people feel like the current school board is stuck in a certain pattern of behavior where, whether it's a matter of putting things on the agenda or voting on specific initiatives, the vote count is the same over and over and over again. If you're elected, how do you go about planning to change the dynamic so the voices of those who may be in the minority will be able to be equal to those of the majority?
Well, I just read David Chastain's interview today with the MDJ, and he said he recommended the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So I'm willing to give that a try, see if that helps. But it's, it's a frustrating thing to think that people have to be cajoled or convinced in order to do what's best for children. And I would hope that in issues like education, we could say, this is what helps students learn. This is what helps students feel safe. And then that's the reason or the best things for our students to do. So I realize things have been along party lines, and I would love for that to change, but I'm willing to keep advocating for what I believe in and what I believe is best for students as we go forward. Compromise doesn't do much good if it's going to mean that kids get a worse education or a worse outcome. So, I'm willing to go in there with my best smile on and my best foot forward and to get to work. I'm not wanting to antagonize anybody on purpose, but I have that goal in mind of doing what's best for our students.
Great. Thank you so very much. Ante?
Thank you, Joel. All right, next question. What can be done to raise the test scores of the students from the administration that isn't already being done?
So one of the things that parents have really been advocating for lately is more attention to our students who struggle with dyslexia. It's something that is really common. 1 in 5 students is kind of the estimated guess of how many students have that. And right now we've been using a literacy program that's called Balanced Literacy, which does not have as much focus on phonics as students who have dyslexia need. So I think we should be looking into how we can, expand the programs that we have available so students have access to that for reading. I think we also can't, ignore how COVID has really impacted all of us. My kids personally did virtual school for an entire year. The year before that, the school year ended in March. And then last year we had so many quarantines and illnesses. I think my child's absence was up to like 42 days out because of COVID related quarantines or sickness within our own family. So that's part of it too. So I would love to see some programs put in place with this COVID CARES Act money, such as, maybe extending the school year as an option, having after school tutoring, we do have some summer school available, but it's only for the bottom quartile of students. And it would be great if we could expand that to all of our students if we can find the funding.
Thank you.
All right. This particular viewer has questions about school safety and the safeties of school zones on Veterans Memorial Parkway. This person says the officer sits in the car and they feel like they need a camera to begin issuing tickets. What is your position on that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, this person has concerns about the safety of the school zone on Veterans Memorial Highway. And this person says that they see an officer sitting in the car, and this person feels like we need a camera to begin issuing tickets.
Oh, so they're advocating for putting a camera at that intersection. And I know that's a deadly intersection, or not even intersection, a deadly crosswalk. They want a camera put there?
Presumably.
Okay, so I think that's a great idea worth looking at. I don't know if that's something within the purview of school board or the school district, or if that's something that would have to go through Cobb County government, but those are great ideas from our citizens that I definitely want to keep hearing and, put that forward so that we can get moving on it and make our kids safe.
All right, thank you so very much.
Thanks.
All right, Ms. Saylor. Next question is, what changes would you like to see in the school board over the next 4 years, and what will be your role in implementing that change or those changes?
A few things I would love to see. First of all, a functional school board. I'd love for us all to work together to help our students. I also would love to see us, beyond helping to mitigate the COVID, unfinished learning. I would love to see us expanding our pre-K programs. See if we can get some federal or state funds to help expand what we have available. We have some great pre-K programs happening in South Cobb. It'd be great if they were more widely available. And I would love to see our students have access to, programs that like the Science of Reading program as a regular thing. That's something that in 2024, the state law has said we need to do more screening and remediation for dyslexia. And I'm eager to see some of our policies change that we have right now. Like we have a safety policy that's putting more guns in our schools, which I don't think is a good idea. There have been armed guards in schools increasingly since the Parkland shooting, and they have not stopped a single school shooting. And in fact, they've just resulted in students being arrested for, kind of minor infractions, especially students of color or students with disabilities. And so I don't think that's something that is the solution to the problem.
Thank you. Joel?
Yes, and picking up that same theme, how do you believe that the Cobb County school system should balance the needs of an open campus where students might feel like they can participate in an open learning environment versus the security risks that are posed in the modern age where either students themselves or outside persons will come into a school environment armed and commit these acts?
This is so hard. And, with kids in the school, I really feel it. My children, the school they go to, they can walk up to an upper field and it's a pretty long walk. And it's like, who else could be around? There are things you think about as a parent. I think part of it is having programs in our own school. It would be great to reinstate like No Place for Hate, to talk with students more clearly about bullying and social emotional development so that they can kind of feel safe in terms of if a student is having a hard time seeking that mental help at school. I also think that this is something that, with hopefully Representative Cummings and others that are Wilkerson that are in the state legislature can help by preventing just how many people carry guns in our society. There are so many guns. And so if we can kind of lessen that, just bring that culture of fear down that anybody could be carrying a weapon. I think it's also frightening that we have people in our schools now by a new policy who are not qualified enough to be police officers, but the superintendent can choose to arm them in our schools. And we don't know, he does not have to identify them or put them in a uniform and they will be in our schools. And so that worries me too. Is that just going to increase, people's sense of fear because they'll see somebody with a weapon and not know if it's one of these, unarmed, one of these personnel that the superintendent has hired that is not a police officer.
All right. Well, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Next question. What does the district need to do to improve literacy?
I think looking at programs that have more of a science of reading based approach. I think we also are depending too much on programs like Read 180, where a lot of it is just computer based. And I think there's not a substitute for a student and a teacher going through a text together and falling in love with a story. I think sometimes we end up narrowing our curriculum when students aren't doing well. That was something I saw a lot during the No Child Left Behind era, where instead of having our students read books, we were sometimes encouraged to have them read just a small, short reading passage and then bubble in their answer choices out of 4. And I think what gets students really passionate about reading, which improves their literacy, is when they fall in love with stories and they're able to have access to high quality literature as a class. Students who have a hard time reading independently can still understand text at a higher level. So if they are reading below grade level, they can still understand a story that's on grade level and keep those skills sharp so that as they increase their ability to decode and to read fluently, they won't be left behind in that way as well.
Thank you for that answer.
Sure.
Joel?
Right. Next question. What policies do you support implementing in the Cobb County school system that might help address the scenarios where you have schools that are Title I schools, where the children may be English as a second language, where there may be income disparities when compared to other schools in the exact same school system, i.e. Cobb County schools?
Right. I loved Ms. Cummings' reply that the state could do some more to fund our schools that are Title I schools. Right now, Title I money comes from the federal government. We don't get any difference in budgeting from the state for schools that are in high poverty areas. So I think there's a lot that our school district can look at to increase that when we look at our budget. Also schools that are in wealthier areas are more likely to have school foundations. And that's another way of increasing the disparity. Those students have access to, lots of funds that can help fund projects around their school that are kind of over and above what the district is able to provide. So if a school does not have a foundation, maybe this district needs to be doing more to help make sure their grounds are okay, that their playground stays safe, that they have the supplies that they need. So I think it's not just making sure schools have the same number when it comes to money. We've got to look at what does the school actually need and what are they missing, and making sure that we're making that up at the district level.
All right, great. Thanks very much. Dante?
All right. One more question that I have here. But where did it go? Okay, so someone asked, what is your opinion on critical race theory? Do you support school choice? And what, I guess it's 3 questions rolled into one. What is your stance on allowing prayers in school? And if you want me to repeat it, I can. That's no problem.
School choice, that I think ends up being vouchers that take money away from the public education system. So I am not a fan of it. I'm a fan of programs that we have here in Cobb, like magnet programs, where you can apply and go within your public school system to, you know, the STEAM-based high school or the IB-based high school. And there's lots of different programs, but it's still within the public school. It doesn't take funding away from public school. What were the other? Oh, critical race theory.
Yes.
I think that the people who have the biggest problem with it are the people who do not understand the definition. Critical race theory is looking at how racism has impacted different laws, different programs in our society. And the state has now banned divisive concepts. So, I can't break state laws as a teacher, but I think it is a problem in the classrooms when teachers can't teach the truth. And I think that our teachers are professionals. Many of them have advanced degrees, like myself. I've got my master's. We know what to do. We've been trained in what to do. And we should trust our teachers to teach. They know the material and they can teach it well. And what was the last one?
I'm sorry about that. What is your stance on allowing prayer in school?
I don't think that there should be organized prayer in a way that a teacher or a leader leads it and then the student feels obligated to do it. But I think anytime you have tests in school, you're going to have prayer in school. It's going to be a private thing that students experience in their own way. The best prayers are private. I'm a Christian. Jesus told me to go, pray in the closet and don't make a big deal about it. And that's what that's the attitude I take for that.
Thank you, Ms. Saylor. I appreciate that. Joel?
All right. Well, I think at this point, thank you, Ms. Saylor, for your participation here this evening. And I think that brings to a close all the panelists we had arranged for this evening for the members of the Austell and Mableton communities to observe. Again, our apologies. I'm not sure what happened with Mr. George. I hope everything's okay with him. But again, thank you, Ms. Saylor, for being here to participate. We also want to reach out and thank Ms. Metzger, Ms. Brubaker, Ms. Cummings, Ms. Angel, and Representative Wilkerson this evening, all of whom came and shared with you the reasons why they wish to have your vote. And we very much appreciate that. Again, by way of reminder, October 11th is the deadline to register to vote if you've not already done so. October 17th is the beginning date for early voting, which again explains why we picked the timing that we did here. Of course, we want to thank you, the members of our viewing audience. You could have done other things and other activities, but you chose to be here to learn and to absorb and to engage so you could be more informed voters. And we very much appreciate that because this is what makes this possible. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not thank our partners at Austell Community Task Force. We're very blessed, have such wonderful partners. Thank you to Elliot as well as to Chandrika for and Lisa for their wonderful help in helping make this event possible. They are the folks that were instrumental in making this all work smoothly and efficiently, and we thank you for that, all of them, for doing that. Dante, any further words you'd like to wrap us up?
Yeah, again, just thank you to all the candidates. I would say especially Ms. Saylor, since you kind of stood out there on the chopping block by yourself and kind of got grilled. So we appreciate you doing that. But again, we didn't want you to feel penalized. We wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of get the questions asked and answered, and so that way the community can hear where you stand on certain things. And the same thing with every other candidate, Ms. Angel, Ms. Cummings, Ms. Brubaker, everyone. We thank you for Ms. Metzger. I'm sorry. We thank you for exposing yourself to the public, so that way people can get a better understanding of who you are and why you deserve their vote. Again, Chandrika, Ms. Harris, we thank you for everything that you've done. It's more of a duck looking very calm on the surface of the water, but a lot of paddling underneath. So we thank you for everything that you've done. And again, to everyone that's out there, we thank you for taking the time out of your day, out of your evening, because again, you could have been doing one of 1,000 different things, but you chose to spend the evening with us to educate yourselves on the topics and on the candidates. So we appreciate you doing that. Hopefully you've been armed with more information, and it gives you what you feel like you need to go to the polls to make an educated decision come voting day. And we appreciate you being here. we will continue to do these forums because we want to make sure that you, the viewing public, gets the information that you need. This is not about us or anyone here on the screen. This is more so for and about you, the general public, because this is affecting you as well as us, because we are members of the community as well. But this is affecting all of us. So we want to make sure that you, us, we get all the information that we can, and we see and hear from the candidates, and we know who we're going to hold accountable when they get into office. So that's, yes, go ahead.
I was saying, speaking of forum, we have another forum that you're going to want to tune into.
Yes.
ACT and MIC are both partnering on the Cityhood Forum on the 11th of October.
Yes,
So please go ahead and register and put that on your calendar. It should be very, very interesting for everyone. Folks who support and those who don't support that particular initiative. So again, October 11th at 7, it's going to be on Zoom, just like this one. So we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Yes. So we thank you. Make sure that you continue to tune in. Again, this is about you, the community. It's not necessarily about any one person here that you see. This is about the community at large, because this is affecting the community at large. So again, we thank you. Continue to tune in. Mr. Hennington, we appreciate you being a strict timekeeper. We thank you for keeping us on course and making sure that we operate efficiently as possible this evening. So we thank you for your dedication tonight as well. And Elliot represents Powder Springs Task Force. So this is a joint effort amongst the different civic organizations in the area. So as you can see, we definitely work together for the good of the community. That this is not a divisive thing. We are all partners. We understand that we all need each other's help. So again, thank you, Elliot, for everything that you did this evening. I'll turn it over to you, Joel. Any last words before we let everybody loose for the last few minutes?
Nope, I think you covered it. I think that's well. Again, thank you to everybody, all the candidates again who were here tonight, and all the listeners and viewers out there. And hope everyone has a wonderful evening and rest of your week.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Have a good
you.
evening.
Thank you.
See you at the polls.
Thank you. Have a wonderful
Thank you.